video game podcast kind of thing, hosted by me, Sean Kingslaver Hickman. In this first episode, we've got a review of N+, we've got a review of the new Pokémon Mystery Dungeon game, and a lot more stuff besides, so sit back and enjoy. Or not, as the case may be. Anyone who knows a good XBLA game when they see one will have no doubt downloaded N+, screamed their guts out one of the insanely hard levels, and developed a xenophobic hatred of those bloody missile turrets. But now, after a long wait, comes the first of 3 DLC packs, this one revolving around easier levels than previously. And for the main, this is true. You won't die a trillion times on levels, but they're still challenging enough to keep you awares. There are 200 levels, split into 150 single player and 50 co-op, and with the pack being priced at 200 points, it's a bargain. Sadly, there are no leaderboards for any of the new episodes, and a determined player could still blast their way through all of them in the morning. There's also no reward as such for finishing all the new content, because there are no achievements, so you'll be playing for fun. But at the end of the day, isn't that what gaming's about? Anyway, I'd recommend this to anyone who loves a good platformer, and it's a perfect excuse for anyone who's put off by the high difficulty level to enjoy N+ again. Even apologise for master control, for Pete's sake. 8 out of 10. Other downloads this week include Go-Go Break Steady for the Xbox Live Arcade, an attempt at a rhythmic puzzler which is quirky but has very little to do with music or breakdancing, and is overpriced at 800 points. And there's this week's other XBLA title, 1942 Joint Strike, an interesting blaster and definitely worth a look if you're into that sort of thing. It'll also set you back 800 points. The new addition to the Xbox Originals range, Jade Empire, that will set you back 1200 points. Made by BioWare, the people behind Mass Effect, it is a deep and beautiful looking action RPG, well worth a look if you haven't played it before. And finally, Puzzle Quest Challenge of the Warlords, wrapping up the 360 downloads, is this new Puzzle Quest expansion, Revenge of the Plague Lord, which is a genuine enhancement to the game with new professions, quests, spells, items, achievements, and bosses. However, it is costly at 700 points. 3 virtual console releases for the Wii this week, with City Connection, which is a weird car platform game where you have to paint every platform before moving on to the next level, International Karate Plus, which is a big improvement on the original, introducing 3 characters at once to the beat-em-up action, and lastly, Neo Turf Masters, which is a nice little golf title with 4 courses to play on, and a distinct visual style that holds up even today. Coming to PSN this week is either a whole game or bite-sized chunks, costing £19.99 and £6.99 respectively, is Siren Blood Curse, a stealth survival horror game that sees you investigating Hanuda, a vanished village where human sacrifices took place in the past. Gangs of London is the other PSN download this week, with the PSP game setting you back £14.99. You get to play as one of 5 gangs, upon which you destroy the rival gangs and do the usual mix of driving and gunning and gaming. It never received brilliant reviews, but it sold well, so the choice is up to you. The last DLC this week is the Guitar Virtuoso track pack for Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. It contains Surfing with the Alien by Joe Satriani, For the Love of God by Steve Ball, and Soothsayer by Buckethead. These 3 add up to make one of, if not the, best track pack for Guitar Hero 3 yet. After Diamond & Pearl's epic, and in many ways successful, attempt to revive the Pokémon franchise to its former glory, things haven't gone too well. Battle Revolution was ridiculously lightweight for a full-price game, Ranch has no real point, and the dominance of EV training in the online community has sucked most of the joy out of the series. This puts a fair amount of pressure on the next Pokémon titles to return to the quality and care of the older ones. So, step in the sequels to a rather average troll from a few years back. Yes, Mystery Dungeon is back, and first impressions aren't too good. I mean, look at the manual. It's generalised. Pity, maybe, but when most of the dual-barrel Pokémon releases of the past have had their own separate manuals, then why not this one? And things don't pick up when you fire up the game. The graphics have barely improved since the first Mystery Dungeon. The second screen, although now more useful because you can set it to show basic stats and controls, is still pretty irrelevant, and the opening minutes of the game will give previous Dungeoneers a severe case of deja vu. However, once you get into your stride, the game picks up a fair bit. The plot's more developed, there are more missions and things to do than ever, and seeing all the new Gen 4 Pokémon is cool. So, the plot. Grovyle is going around stealing the 5 time gears, and with them gone, time stops. This happens in both versions, making Explorers of Darkness seem a little pointless. The only difference is a select group of Pokémon, which are exclusive to just the one version. When going through the titular dungeons themselves, you will rarely feel challenged, except for the bosses, who are huge spikes in the difficulty curve. Also, sometimes when a dungeon generates a really long corridor, annoyance will step in. The control system is fairly simple to master, with both touch and button controls available, although a mixture of both tends to generate better results. Otherwise it can be a nightmare to line up your attacks and go where you want to. The AI is fairly adept at holding its own, although ultimately it will be your character doing most of the fighting, due to him or her being at the front of the party all the time. The music is very Pokémon-esque, but never really goes above and beyond what you expect. And the new online friend rescue system is fairly pointless, due to its complexity and the fact it's usually simpler just to restart the dungeon. So, overall, Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness, while functional and a good way to waste time, aren't going to be shifting DSs or boosting the Pokémon franchise anytime soon. But if you can find them cheap, or you're just a fan of the Pokémon or Mystery Dungeon franchises, they're well worth a look. 7 out of 10. And now it's time for the part of this podcast thing where I shut up and you get to see trailers for all this week's releases. Of which there is one. Yeah. So that's it for this week's first episode of the Gaming Enthusiast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to rate it or leave a comment. It'll only help me to improve it and make it better. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye.